obviously you want to talk about Katie. She has a fight coming up against Natasha Jonas. It's a repeat of I believe it was the semi-final at the Olympics 2012. Yeah. So to get to the gold medal match. It's a good fight. What do you think of it?
The semi was the quarters.
Was it the quarters?
Excuse me. Quarters. Yeah, it was quarters. But she fought Tajikistan in the semi-finals.
Okay. What do you think of this matchup anyway? I think it's a good matchup.
Yeah, I think Kay beat her twice. I was there. Kay beat her twice in the amateurs. She beat her in a multi-nations as well. Yeah, like look, I don't think that Natasha Jonas is taken to the pros as well as what Kate has. Banuf, what her name is?
Obanoff, yeah, Vivian Obanoff.
She got Jonas out. Katie, I know it doesn't matter. Katie stopped, but styles make fights. But I don't know. I think it's an interesting match. It's an interesting match, and I think Jonas has called for the match. He actually made the match by being on Sky and calling out the fight. You know, I think.
Yeah.
But I think if Katie comes in, an 80% Katie will be an 100% Jonas.
Okay, and that's what you think? There's that big of a gap in or disparity in level, like.
Yeah, I think if Katie. I don't think there's any distance that Jonas can beat Kate yet.
Yeah.
I don't think she's too slow for her. I don't think she's a good backhand, but it's slow. I mean, and I think if you box at long distance, middle distance, or short distance, Katie can beat her at any distance.
Yeah.
I mean, she outboxed in the first round of in the Olympics, and then she pushed her back in the second. She gave I think she gave her 3 counts she gave her 3 counts in the Olympics.
Oh, wow.
In the quarterfinals. So with the smaller gloves on, if Katie even jumps on her and turns it into a fight, I don't think she's got the stamina as well that Katie has, you know. So
yeah.
And Katie's been there. She's been through the trenches, you know.
Yeah.
She's had this, you know, and she shows what she can do. So yeah, I think the fight it's a good fight, and I think you've got to be careful here as well. You know, you can't control this. But the judging, you've got to be so careful with the judging as well, because you're going over there fighting Sky Sports girl she is, and
yeah,
you know, I'd be a bit worried about, you know, the judging as well.
Okay, that's interesting.
Hopefully, it doesn't go to the judges.
With Katie and Natasha, it's a good narrative fight, you know, for Sky and stuff. But obviously, you see a massive disparity there in level, like in actual ability. I think only a fool, or maybe Joe Gallagher, would say that Natasha Jonas, you know, is going into with a very good chance of winning this fight. I think most people.
I don't even think Natasha Jonas thinks she'll win the fight, to tell you the truth.
Okay, really? Is there anything that makes you say that, or?
I just don't. She called for the fight. It's a money fight. It's like people calling out, you know, Mayweather at the time, you know, because they're the money fights. The money fights are with Katie, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
But as I was saying before, I don't watch Katie's fights, you know, because I get too nervous, you know.
Okay.
And I watch him after I know the result. I'll have a look at him then, you know.
Okay.
Because, you know, I know I used to be in the corner, but I had a bit of control then, you know.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that's the difference. That's exactly what I was going to ask you.
I have no control now, so
yeah,
I don't like watching them.
So can I ask, if you don't mind, about Katie's training team that she has at the moment? She seems to have a really good relationship with a very good coach, by all accounts, in Ross Enamate. Do you know Ross, and like, what do you know of him, and kind of what do you make of that matchup and kind of what he's done with her?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I've read he had books out. I read books he had out before, and I've seen things on the internet, but I don't know him. And obviously, I talked to Katie, and she did get on well. And well, I kind of tend not to. We don't talk too much about the boxing, you know, that kind of way, because I'm listening to boxing all the time. She's listening to boxing, and then I wouldn't. Now she's fighting Jonas, and I wouldn't be saying, oh, you should do this, or you should do that. I think you should fight this way because I wouldn't like to conflict with the advice she's getting. So I don't talk about the fighters coming up, because I don't want to any conflict with any advice I'll be giving her.
Yeah, that's interesting because I was going to ask you kind of, obviously, it's well documented as well at this stage that you and Katie have a relationship, I suppose, more of a relationship again. And I was going to ask you, is it ever something that could happen in the future? Is there ever any prospect of doing any work together inside of boxing again, or is it maybe not something that's there?
I know. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think she's happy where she is, and I'm actually, I was never keen on Katie to any professional as well.
Really? Can you elaborate on that?
I just didn't want it to turn professional. It's a different game to the amateurs. I mean, it was hard enough in the corner when she was in there, but now you see her coming out even after Persoon's fight, heads out here, black eyes, cuts. I'm honestly, I fetched my daughter into boxing. We were the people that between us it kind of raised the women's boxing in Ireland. But and I'm not being discriminate, but I don't like the female professional boxing, to tell you the truth.
Really? Okay, that's.
I mean, I don't. I must say that I just don't like that. I don't know. I'm probably going to hot water here. I like watching. I like the boxing, but I don't think they box great. But I just don't like the state to come out of it. And even lumps here, lumps there. But the nose is over there.
Yeah. Okay.
Lads can wear a broken nose, but I don't think the women can.
Okay, I think I think I know where you're coming from. I think I get where you're coming from. Yeah, it's an interesting one, but yeah, I get it. I get what you're talking about. I want to touch on those Persoon fights. We did very briefly, but I'm really interested in the scoring of fights and kind of how the judging has we've seen the judging kind of change a bit lately, and judges have come under a lot of scrutiny. A lot of people still don't believe that Katie won that second fight. What is it, do you think, that people are seeing? The people who thought that it was close or that she didn't win that fight, what are they seeing? Like, from a completely unbiased perspective, from a trainer's perspective now, if you can kind of put your trainer's hat on for me, what are they looking at? Because you obviously, from a trainer's perspective as well, believe that Katie, that second fight now particularly, won that as in hands down. I personally thought, I tried to be totally unbiased. I actually tried to give Persoon rounds, and I still had Katie winning by 1 or 2. And that was trying to give Persoon close rounds. So what did they see in there?
I think when Katie gets it, people are surprised even, because they expect Katie to be up there and everyone's down there. So even, like I say, in the last fight she had against that girl, she won every round. It was a shootout. Somebody still gave that girl a few rounds, but the girl was getting clattered every.
Gutierrez, the Spanish girl, yeah.
Like it was a fairly easy, straightforward fight.
Shutout.
I actually think people get hypnotized by the watching. Say Katie, she's punching the girl. When the girl gets hit, they go, Jesus, she's been hit. They gave the girl the round. But I think what we pursued, it was just volume. She threw with volume, but it's not about the volume. It's about clear punches. You land, and I think people see this girl throwing punches like a windmill, and Kay was rolling under him, coming up with the single shots, but all the single shots were clean. And it's like I said to you, if you throw 100 punches and you only land with 10 of them, and somebody throws 20 punches and lands with 15 of them, the person that's thrown the 20 punches wins.
Yeah, definitely.
It's about clean punching, at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%.
People don't see that. I don't think they're just looking at the arms going, and they're not really looking at the fight like you do when you're even a fan or a trainer looks at it. You look at two different things.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's an interesting one, but I agree with you there, and that, at least that's the way it should be, and at least the judges saw the fight the right way. Do you know what I mean? In this instance, because sometimes lately they haven't seen it, everyone thinks that the judges have got it wrong, but in that, I suppose in both of those instances, for you, the judges got the scoring correct.
Yeah, like the first fight was a close fight,
Yeah.
and you know, it was around. There was a round in it either way.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I personally thought so as well.
I think a draw would have been fair.
Yeah.
You know, but and I don't think anyone could have argued if Persona had got it by a round.
Yeah.
Or if Kay got it by a round. I don't think anyone could have argued that fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And if Persona had got the fight, everyone would have been saying, "I was a robbery. It should have been Kay." So whoever won the fight, there's always going to be people saying it was a robbery anyway. You know, so probably a draw would have been a fair result. You know.
Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, that's just people are gonna shout robbery a lot. They're just gonna do it.
You know, people shout robbery not sometimes when it's a clear cut fight anyway. You know what I mean? Because
100%.
They see what they want to see. You know.
That's it, an emotional attachment to certain fights or fighters and all sorts of different things like that. I'm going to ask you a question now, and feel free to not answer it because it's not, you might not be able to speak to it. I'm interested in the presence of God in Katie's life and as an athlete as well. And obviously someone who your father and trained her for the majority of her career. I wonder if you could kind of speak to that and maybe explain it to me, because it's something that I think a lot of sports fans in Ireland have noticed over the years. It's a big presence in her life, God and religion. I think she's Baptist. Would I be right in saying that?
Christian.
Yeah, Christian. And of course, I think it has a big part to play in her boxing career as well. Can you kind of speak to that? Like, where does that come from? And maybe give us a bit of insight into how that affects her boxing and her mindset towards going into fights.
Yeah, I'm not really the person to really ask her because
yeah, okay, fair enough.
You know, she has her beliefs, and she's really got really strong beliefs, you know, and and that's what motivates her. You know, other people go to, I suppose, sports psychologists and everything and things like. But Kay gets her motivation from God, and but you know, I'm not really the right.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I didn't want to put you on spot too much, but it's just because you're obviously the closest person to Katie that at least I would have ever spoken to. It's something that has always interested me. But yeah, no problem at all.